are here. That's something that I guess you've been waiting for. I know I've been waiting for. It is the Nerd Fights Finals. Alan versus Sean. Sean, the devastating conqueror that he was last round, knocking his opponent out. Alan, somebody that faced somebody that knocked somebody out and took him to the brink. I'm excited to see what these competitors do. I'm going to go ahead and bring them in real quick, and I'm going to discuss and get their thoughts on the battle today. All right, Alan, let them know what you're about. Are you ready for this match? I'm excited for this match. Tell us what you got it planned.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to defeat some Sean. I can't even pronounce his last name because it's, probably as obscure as his arguments are going to be. I'm fighting a hurricane today. Look at this behind me. There's a hurricane going on, but that's not going to stop me. I'm here to win. I'm here to kill. Let's do it.
I like the aggravation. I love it. I love it. And I'm bringing Sean in next. I'm so excited. You knocked out your last opponent. You heard what your opponent today is saying he's going to do to you. He's saying he's going to kill you today. What are some words you have for him?
I'm glad that he's already got his excuse planned out that there's a hurricane behind him. So that way when he loses and gets knocked out or TKO, because if you forget in the first round, I TKO'd my guy. I don't know what a speed round looks like because I've never had to go to one. This is my title. I'm ready to wear it. I'm ready to show it off. And I'm ready to prove to everyone that none of you picked me to win this tournament, let alone get out of the first round, and I'm going to be your Nerd Fights champion. What do you think about that?
Oh, man, I think those are some hefty words from Sean, and I'm not here by myself. And we got James here. James, this is your first time in the Nerd Fights battle arena that we like to so call it. Are you excited to be here? Are you excited to crown a champion? What's your thoughts on the match tonight?
I am here to peddle my wrong opinions. So, Doctor Who is garbage. Comics are for 5-year-olds. I am just here to make people hate me even more and to also promote the After Dark League. I don't know what the official name for it is, but
we're not talking about that right now.
We're not talking
about it. Listen. I will boot you and just have 2 judges. No, I'm just playing. James, I'm excited that you're here. We have some full energy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so we brought Ryan in. Ryan, this is your first Nerd Fights battle, if I'm not mistaken. Are you excited for the finale? What are you most excited to see, and are you ready to crown a champ?
Well, I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to crowning a champion here. I've been seeing so many people argue throughout about video games, about movies, sports, and wrestling. So it's finally time to finally get a chance to see how we like to argue when it comes to comics, genre shows, and mainly, as always, fantasy sci-fi. So I'm looking forward to this.
All right, Ryan, I appreciate you so much for coming on the show. Let's get this ball rolling. But I am going to go over the rules for the championship round because it is slightly different. Instead of 4 main questions, we have a total of 6, guys. So that's going to go ahead and make this a little bit longer than a normal match. Of course, you already know rounds go as 90 seconds, 5 minutes, and a 1-minute close. Each competitor does have that minute extension. I'm sure they didn't want to use it right now anyway, because the fact is that this is a long debate and it's wise to use it on a point that you may need. So if they use it in their close, they'll get 2 minutes. If they use it in their open, they get 2.5. We'll get to the speed round if we get there. Sean said that we're not getting there. Alan said we're not getting there, so we may not get there. All right, so we're bringing Alan in first. Alan, we're excited to have you here. As always, I've said it. I'm excited for both of you guys. You guys surprised the hell out of me with your first rounds, especially with your second rounds. And we're here for the championship round, and I'm super stoked. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first question. And the first question is for you, Alan. Monster Mash category. Out of all the Universal Monster movies, who was the most human character? Now, Alan, you have 1:30 on the clock when you're ready for your opener as soon as you start speaking.
All right, let's begin. I think the most human character of all of the monsters in the Universal Monster filmography has got to be Frankenstein's monster, because with this character we get to see the whole life cycle of a human being, from birth to death. We get to see all the major decisions that one has to go through in life in a relatively short span. We get to feel empathy with this creature, the fear that this creature has, his discovering who he is, his place in the world, what he is made for, what he is made to do, who he has to overcome, to be who he ultimately will become. We get to see every major obstacle, every major life-affirming situation seen through his eyes. We get to feel his emotions, brilliantly acted by Lon Chaney. Just an amazing, or Karloff rather, an amazing transformation from thing to human, to understanding what humanity is in this relatively short time with this monster who dies tragically. And that's really all there is to say about that.
All right, finishing up before his time is up. Sean, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man.
All right, Sean, I'm bringing up the question again for you again. Out of all the Universal monster movies, who was the most human character? 1:30 on the clock whenever you start speaking.
I think with it comes to human characteristics, it's not necessarily the monster itself, but the whole character in its full combined, whether it be his human form, whether it be an alien monster form. And that's why I went with the Wolfman. I didn't go with the obvious answer that everyone likes to go with, which is Frankenstein's monster. So I chose the Wolfman, and I'm going to concede the rest of my time to save it for the argument.
We're going to go into the 5-minute debate round. I'm going to ask my judges just be quiet as best they can, so we can hear the arguments. So you guys got 5 minutes on the clock. Whoever starts speaking will start the clock.
I think you're giving Frankenstein's monster way too much credit. You're talking about like a full-on, like, beginning, middle, end. See, that's the thing. You didn't even say the middle. You said birth to death. What about the stuff in the middle? He's not even human. The only thing human about him is that he looks like a human. He's barely even alive in this movie. Like, he doesn't do anything that has any human characteristics except kill people.
He goes through one of the greatest pathos moments almost in any film, when he goes to the lake, meets that little girl, has a moment. It's the first time he's ever given a gift, so he feels kindness, he feels love. And then he makes the tragic mistakes of throwing the little girl into the lake to her death because they were throwing flowers to watch them float. And the joy that he saw making those flowers float, he thought the same thing would happen with this little girl. So he realizes his mistakes, his great mistake. He looks at his hands after he runs from that scene and realizes his hands have caused death. That's a hugely human moment. That's a hugely human moment.
I don't think he's sad that he killed the girl. I think he's sad that he threw the girl in and she didn't float like the flowers, and he's looking at his hands wondering, well, why didn't it work for me? He's sad that it didn't work. He's not sad that the girl died because he has no motivations. He has no remorse. The Wolfman has 100% remorse. Even when he kills the wolf in the beginning of the film, he feels genuine guilt and sadness for what he did. That is human characteristics. When he's the wolf, yeah, he can't control anything he does, but when he wakes up as a human, he feels nothing but remorse and guilt for what he has done. That is what a human characteristic is, not just going up to any random person in that film and choking them out to death. How many people does Frankenstein kill with no remorse?
He doesn't choke out the little girl to death. He realizes the mistake. He doesn't realize that.
Everybody else does.
No, well, because they're attacking him. They're giving him reason. They are coming at him. They're trying to kill him. So he has to defend himself. Larry Talbot as the Wolfman, he really has no idea of what he's done. He feels remorse, but he doesn't realize what he's done because he's not conscious at that moment. So that gives him the perfect out.
When he wakes up, he realizes what he's done because people tell him what's happened. And he knows he did it. And he wants nothing to do but to stop it. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to be this person. And that's
of course he doesn't want to have his memory. He doesn't want to have memory loss, or he doesn't want to take responsibility for what he's done. He just wants to end this curse because he's tragic.
He went to them and said, I did do this, but no one wants to believe him. Frankenstein just slumbers around, just doing whatever. And if anyone comes by that just slightly annoys him, he chokes them to death.
No,
Yeah.
they attack him every instance in attack. He was attacked. He's a baby, essentially a baby, given great power,
He's a
immense power that he doesn't understand because he doesn't know his place in the world. He's seeing all of these things that look like him, being able to do all of these things and wondering why he cannot do the same, why he is being persecuted, attacked moment after moment by everyone. He looks the same as far as he's concerned as these people do, and they attack him relentlessly. The one moment that he wasn't attacked was with this little girl, and he has joy. You see his smile, and then when he realizes it's not because she wouldn't float, it's because he did something wrong. He feels great remorse from that moment, and it turns into anger. He goes through all the stages of grief in about 3 scenes, and it's pretty remarkable to see something like this in this character.
Has no mindset of what it's like to be a human. He doesn't understand. Therefore,
he's discovering it. He's discovering. The interesting thing in his story is watching the characters discover things, and he is discovering what it is to be a human. Talbot in the Wolfman is just a lot of woe is me, I didn't know what I did, oh no, I'm cursed. And there's another really interesting arc in that. It's tragic, but it's not an interesting story arc. We get to see all of these discoveries in this monster.
He did in himself. He takes I'm trying to think of the right word, but he owns his shit. He doesn't.
But he's a hunter and a thief.
He doesn't go, oh, it's not my fault. He goes, the animal bit me. I did this. How do I stop it? He tries to stop it. I mean, yes, he's a man. He has problems. He loves a girl, and he gives the one thing that was going to stop that from happening because he doesn't believe. But then as soon as it happens, he feels all that ultimate remorse, which is the most human characteristic of all. Even in the movie, they say the form of the werewolf is the good and evil of a man's soul, with the evil being the wolf. What is more human than the good and evil of a man's soul?
Exactly. And what's more interesting than discovering that with the character at the same time is what you do with Frankenstein's monster. With that monster, you discover everything about humanity, and he does have a soul. If you feel regret, if you feel remorse, that is a soul, and he feels regret in that moment that he killed.
All right. We're going to the closing. All right, so we're gonna go to Alan. Alan, you're closing this out right now. You're starting to close out. Frankenstein. Tell us why Frankenstein's monster is the most human character out of any Universal monster movies. 1 minute when you start talking.
We get to discover what it means to be human with this character throughout the duration of the film. We get to see the journey that we all take as people to discover our humanity. What is our purpose on this earth? Why were we born? Why were we born this way with certain gifts and certain abilities? With the Frankenstein monster, why was he given this gift or this curse of a large size? With these hands, what do I do with these hands? Why are these hands capable of great joy, great love, and great death and destruction? What does that mean to me as a human being? The first time discovering kindness, discovering joy, discovering love, discovering hate, discovering fear, which every person can relate to, is how we overcome fear. And Frankenstein's monster understands that, learns that, and in a very ultimately tragic end, becoming a product of fear, and having that great fear within himself, to see what is becoming of him as an angry mob attacks him, destroys him.
We're going up to Sean next. Sean, 1 minute on the clock. Whenever you start talking, tell us why the Wolfman is the most human out of all the Universal monster movies.
Like I said previously, Alan, you're giving the Frankenstein's monster too much credit. You're building all this stuff in your brain as you're watching this film. Frankenstein's not thinking of any of that stuff. Frankenstein is literally a brainless, lumbering beast who just goes around and kills people. Wolfman is an actual human being who understands right from wrong, and when something is thrust upon him, he only gets infected with the lichen because he's trying to save another woman's life. He fails in the process, but even then, he realizes what he's done and he feels remorse and guilt, which is a human characteristic. Even near the end of the film, when he knows he's not going to be able to stop himself, he gives his father the weapon that can kill him because he has accepted his fate, that he knows that if he gets out, he will have to die, and he will have to accept that they will either have to kill him or he will kill them himself. And that is the most human characteristic of all, is guilt, remorse, understanding, acceptance, and allowing yourself to die. and Frankenstein cannot do that. Therefore, he is not a human character.
Time. All right. Way to start off a championship match, but we're going to go over to my judges real quick. We just heard the first round question, and I'm going to go over to James first. James.
Oh, yeah.
What are you feeling about this? Are you feeling Alan's answer, which was Frankenstein's monster, or were you feeling Sean's answer, which was the Wolfman? Now, the question, again, is out of all the Universal monster movies, who was the most human character? Who do you feel argued it best?
I think this is actually a lot easier than it may appear on the surface. I think the winner, and I'm going to be vague for a second, I think had more variety in his answer. It wasn't just this idea of loss is a feeling. It's joy, it's happiness, it's being able to explore the gambit of human emotions and not just a couple of things which makes something human. It's about human is more than one entity. It's about everything surrounding how we act. Every single moment is a mix of different emotions all interacting with each other to create a certain je ne sais quoi.
All right, I got your briefing. So who are you giving your point to?
For that, my point goes to Alan, because I think Sean focused too much on tragedy as human, whereas Alan talks about how Frankenstein truly became human over the movie and discovered everything. Yes.
I got you. We're going over to Ryan. Ryan, questions on the board. Out of all the Universal monster movies, who was the most human character? The Frankenstein monster or the Wolfman? Who are you giving your point to? Give me a brief synopsis. If you go a little long, I will shorten your time because we are in the extended match.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, first off, both of the opponents, they gave out two different definitions of our characters discovering their humanity, and both of them are tragic. Whether it's Frankenstein's monster learning about humanity itself through his experiences, and the Wolfman learning about tragedy through what's been forced upon him. With that being said, I'm going opposite of what James is doing. I'm giving my point to Sean because, yeah, he did put a lot of emphasis on the Wolfman's tragedy of remorse, of pretty much having something thrust upon him. But it shows that he put more, but Sean was able to at least argue more on exactly of the character Lawrence's actions when he's discovering what this monster he's becoming. And throughout the formula of most movies, it's kind of, oh, they're in the dark, they're wrestling with it, and ultimately they can either embrace or deny it. The movie, and through what Sean was saying, the movie had a better painted picture of Lawrence as a man trying to grasp his decisions and finally come to deciding what the right thing is to do. So my point is going to Sean.
Awesome. So I got to make the deciding factor. I love when my judges are not on the same page. It's perfect because it's a lot of fun for me. So I'm going to keep this nice and short and sweet. I'll give you a few pointers. So a lot of Alan's argument was repetitive. It was he's feeling he's here. That's why he's human. He's a baby growing. A lot of Sean's argument was repent. I was trying to save someone, which is self-sacrifice, which is a noble human trait. It came down to a lot of the argument of, is someone a full-fledged human in this character? And what Sean gave me was a full-fledged human being. That's where I view the question. It's who, while yes, Frankenstein's monster is one of the most tragic characters ever created by Universal, I feel Sean's was the most human due to the fact is that he displayed the most human traits. So Sean does get the point for that round. Actually, my point did matter. We're not going to go. So we're going to go. We're going to go to. I tried to help
you, man. I tried.
I know. It's okay. Listen, this is a long match, guys. There is no knowing who's going to win this match. I'm very excited. We're going into question 2. And question 2, in anime. Both of you guys are excited, right? It's anime? If I mispronounce this director's name, I am highly sorry. You can yell at me in the comics or find me on Facebook and punch me in the face in real life. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. If you could taste any food from a Hayao Miyazaki I think I said it right. Miyazaki. Film, which would it be? And we're going to go over to Sean first. Sean, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds when you start talking. Who you got? What food do you got? I hope it's delicious.
Well, my choice is delicious because even though I am not a big anime guy, and I'm going to admit that on Nerd Fights, how dare I? There is a lot of delicious looking food in all of these films. But there is one that stood up above the rest for me that literally made my mouth water as I was looking at it. And yeah, it is something that I've eaten many, many times in my life. But this one looked the most delicious I've ever seen. And that's why I'm going to go with the spaghetti from the Castle of Cagliostro. And I will concede the rest of my time.
All right. Sean's going with the spaghetti from the Castle of Cagliostro. I probably said that wrong too. We're going to go over to Alan. Alan, you got 1 minute and 30 on the board. Tell us, which food would you want to taste if you could taste any food from a Miyazaki film?
Well, there's a great deal of foods, delicious looking foods in Miyazaki films, but my personal favorite, and the one that as soon as I saw it, I knew exactly how to answer this, and that is the azuki bean, the red paste bean bun that is eaten in the bathhouse as the main character is looking out onto the stars. When you see this thing being consumed, I am a big fan of azuki bean. Living in Hawaii, shave ice is very, very important. And once you get shave ice, you got to get it with azuki bean at the bottom or else it's no good. So as soon as I saw that, just knew this was the most perfect thing. The most perfect thing to eat. It's sweet, it's delectable, it's fulfilling, it's amazing, and quite delicious. So that's why it's the best.
All right. I love the fact that Sean that Sean and Alan both kept this under 1 minute and 30 because my mouth is salivating already. Guys, I'm going to leave the question up on the screen. And I guess you got to make the judges hungry. I hope that you brought some for us to eat because we're hungry. And you got 5 minutes on the clock. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and battle it out for which Miyazaki film food you want to taste.
Brother, I got to tell you, the spaghetti noodles of any kind in most anime don't look appetizing. They don't look real. It doesn't look good at all. Looks quite disgusting, especially if there's any kind of red sauce. Usually if they're eating, ramen or something like that, they've got a little bit of the brown water, but that's about it. Makes it look a little less than disgusting. But anytime noodles are in anime, especially usually being eaten and being slurped up and you get that slurping nasty sound, makes me gag.
I mean, even in your opening, you said the best. It is not what's the best food. It's if you could taste any food. And yet you picked one that wasn't even the best looking food in your own movie that you chose. There's better food in that. There's a whole spread, multiple spreads in that film that looks more delicious and mouthwatering than the one you picked. You picked a disgusting and unappealing looking bun. It looks disgusting. It's starch on starch. At least mine, you've got noodles. You've got sauce. You've got literally a plethora of meatballs on the plate. And even in the cartoon, there is not a lot of sauce on it. So you're talking about red, runny sauce. There's not really any sauce. It's all the noodles and the buns, and it looks delicious. The way it forms around the fork makes it mouth-watering. Makes me want to suck it all up with the noodles, just like if it's in Lady and the Tramp. Shut up, James. I see your face. It looks delicious. Yours isn't even the best one in the movie you chose.
It's the best one in the movie because you see the joy it brings to that little girl. When she bites into it, it folds perfectly just the way those buns are eaten. It's absolutely delicious.
The hogs. That looked more delicious than the bun.
Oh, then you got problems. Then you got problems. Your obsession with slurping, I don't get. I'd much rather have, you say starch upon starch. It's absolutely a sweet, delicious dessert and meal all rolled into one. And it's absolutely appetizing and delicious and quite tasty. And I've taken, you've never had this form of azuki bean before. So you're missing out. I'll send you one so you can actually experience real joy.
Your food will get tiring to eat after one bite, maybe two, if I really like the taste. Mine is a full-on meal. Yours is a snack. Mine is definitely going to make you feel full and appetizing as the meal is going. Even the food in the bathhouse, if you bring up the bathhouse, the food that the bathhouse workers give the no face look way more appetizing and appealing. I would love to have everything on that plate.
And one of those were those exact buns. And when Jen gives that to Chihiro, you can see both of them enjoying this this delicious dish, and it looks perfect.
The one I didn't pay attention to. I paid attention to everything else on that table and not those buns.
Ah, well, then you've never experienced them before, because you probably came from a place of ignorance and didn't know what it was. That's clearly what that means.
Clever.
That's clearly what that means. No disrespect, but you clearly don't know what it is.
None taken. I mean, I prefer a beautiful Italian meal that is loved by millions than a bunch of starch with beans packed into it. That sounds so fun. That sounds so tasty. It sounds boring and dull. Mine at least has some weight to it. It's an enjoyment to eat. And it is something that even throughout the film, it's not even a focus point of the film. There's an actual story around it, but this keeps popping up in the film, and it's the one thing your eyes go to the entire time you're watching the movie. Yours is a moment in a scene. There are so much other food in that entire film that's more to the eye and probably looks a hell of a lot more tasteful than your buns.
A moment in the scene that is absolutely the perfect visualization of how food can make you happy. It makes this little girl extraordinarily happy. When she bites into it, you see the red, you see the curvature of the paste, actually the texture of it, both the paste and the buns separately. So as far as just animation, it's beautiful and very realistic. And you see the joy on this girl's face, who's been through this really kind of crazy ordeal in this insane bathhouse. So it's kind of amazing to see how this one treat can bring her a lot of joy and take her back to a place of comfort and safety. And it's incredible. And it makes me feel the same thing the first time I've ever eaten one of those buns, and every time I look forward to doing it when it's available to me.
And once again, we're talking about taste, not joy it brings. And in that spaghetti, everyone in that place looks appetizing as hell when they get to sit there. They sit there and they're literally rolling it up on their forks and they're getting ready to shove it down their faces because it looks delicious. And I want to taste that spaghetti. It looks like Douglas said, it was mouth-watering. I want to have it. Those buns do not look mouth-watering at all. It looks boring and plain, and anything else on that table or in that film, even the ones that turn people to hog, look more enticing to me. I'd rather that turn to a hog than eat those buns.
No, if you want spaghetti, you just go to the kitchen and make it up real quick right there. I mean, where's the excitement in that? Where's the joy in that?
Time. Woo! All right, guys. This has been a fun match so far. I'm hungry, and you both owe me dinner. All right, so that's what I'm saying. You both owe me dinner, and we're gonna go to Sean first. Sean, you have a minute to close out. We're gonna throw your answer up there. You have a minute to close out. Tell us why the spaghetti from Cagliostro. I'm gonna say Lupin 3. I'm gonna say Lupin 3. The spaghetti from Lupin 3 is the food that you want to taste out of any other food in a Miyazaki film.
Look, the bottom line is you picked one food out of a film with tons of food, all that looked way more appealing, way more delicious, and mouth-watering tasty compared to anything that you chose with the red buns. Mine is the one food in this movie that stands out. It's the one food that literally is brought back in scene from scene throughout the entire film. It is the staple point of that movie. I literally can search the Castle Cagliostro, and you know what pops up first? The spaghetti. You know what pops up when I bring up Spirited Away? Not your red buns. And that is the why the spaghetti from the Castle Cagliostro, or Lupin 3, the way Douglas likes to call it, is the most tasteful looking food, and that is the one I would like to have a taste of compared to the red buns from Spirited Away that, frankly, without knowing what your correct answer was, I didn't even know those existed.
All right. So basically, Sean called me uncultured swine. I get it. It's okay. We're going to go ahead and the Asaku bean red bun from Spirited Away for Alan. I got that one right. So I feel like I'm twirling a mustache right now. So we're gonna go ahead and give you a minute on the clock. Alan, you have 1 minute to tell us why you want to taste these Asaku bean red buns from Spirited Away over any other food.
The question was, what food would you want to taste? And in Spirited Away, there's a bevy of food, but the one that stood out was that Azuki bean, the red bun. from the animated look of it, from the steam coming off of it, from the joy looking on the faces after they've been eaten, from the bite and the way it folds, so you can see the texture of that bun and how delicious it is, and having that mouth-watering quality of, look, this is the ultimate comfort food. Of all the other food, this is the one that stands out. This is the one that looks the best for me to taste, for me to enjoy, to put me back into that spirit of that little girl and that joy and comfort that all food, good comfort food, that's what it does. It takes you back to a place of innocence, of safety, and deliciousness. And it is by far the most standout in all of that. In fact, it even comes up again when the little boy offers it to her. That's what it is, the same thing.
All right. All right. This is going to be fun. And I'm going to go over to Ryan first. Ryan, do me a favor. Make this a little easy. Like I said, we're trying to keep this as short as possible. So give me a brief reason why, and get me who your points going to.
First off, you guys really are trying to make me hungry here. I mean, for Christ's sake, I haven't eaten anything in 3 hours, so that might affect my decision here. But plainly, you guys did great back and forth here. You definitely specified on how important, or at least the food itself, how they brought like emphasis in certain moments into the movie, which definitely helps. But Alan did something very good that I didn't think Sean was able to counter a lot of. You did a lot of counter, Sean, but Alan talks a lot about how the bun was seen as a comfort food, and especially in how important it was to this character who throughout the movie is in this world she doesn't understand. So having something of safety and comfort gave her a sense of normality. So with that, I'm going to give my point to Alan.
All right, giving the point to Alan. So real quick, the question again is, if you could taste any food from a Miyazaki film, what would it be? And we have the spaghetti and the Asaki bean red bun. I'm hoping I'm saying that semi-right. I'm close, right?
Close.
I'm good. I'm close.
You're close. You're
I'm close. As long as I can appreciate the culture, we're good. So this was really hard for me because you both made me seriously hungry the entire debate. I wanted to taste that nice red bun as it spewed out. Like Alan said, that I just couldn't help because I'm a child. And so when Sean, the problem that I have, Alan, with your argument is the fact is that during the debate, you focused a lot on why yours was so great, but you didn't tear down enough of the spaghetti. You said it was like carbs on carbs and carbs, but I don't think that was enough to ding it. Whereas Sean actually dinged yours a lot because by him saying, it wasn't the most appealing. It's bland. There was a couple other things that he said. I'm trying to remember everything, but I'm trying to keep this short as well. So that's why Sean's going to get my point for this one. I just feel like it was a little uneven when it came to the dings towards each other. You definitely boosted yours a lot, but you didn't tell me why Sean's wasn't the best. And Sean kind of basically counteracted and told me why yours wasn't so good while boosting his. So we're going to go over to James. James, questions on the board. Who's got your point?
I'm gonna point matters this time. And
yes, it does. Nice callback.
Doug, I think you got into it pretty well with my reasoning. I think the biggest issue here is, in comparison, Alan has so much other food to choose from, and the fact that he nails it in on one thing that is apparently the least appetizing. I don't even remember it in the movie. Whereas Sean, he went comfort food. He went something that he knows tastes good, and it made it look good, better than he's used to seeing it. Red bean, bun, paste, whatever, compared to everything else, that's the killer for me. I think Sean gets the point because choosing that over everything else seems incredibly insane compared to spaghetti.
All right. So me and James are uncultured swines when it comes to the
it's Italian food. It's somewhat cultured.
the red bun. The red bun. We're uncultured swine to the red bun. And guys, we're going to question 3, category 3 from Doctor Who. this is one that I'm excited for because our British fans that wanted to view us will basically judge us very, very harshly for every answer or word that we say. So we're going to go over to question 3, and we're going to start with Alan first. Alan, which companion do you feel had the best send-off? You have 1:30 on the clock. Don't forget, you do have that minute extension that you can use for your opening close. But if you're not using it, minute on the clock, 1:30 on the clock, which companion do you feel has had the best send-off?
All right. Out of all of the companions for the Doctor, I'm going to go with Rose Tyler. I think she had the best send-off because even in a show filled with absolute insanity, she went out in a beautiful, kind of heartbreakingly tragic but uplifting way. She gets thrown into this alternate reality to be with her parents, one of which passed away but is still alive in this alternate reality. She, of course, falls in love with the Doctor but can't realize that until she goes back to the Doctor's reality. And then there's a doppelganger, another one. Oh, great. She's got, now she has the ability, the opportunity to be with the one that she loves in a way that she can't in the normal reality. Gets to go and grow old and be with this Doctor in her new found alternate reality home timeline. A pretty beautiful way to send off a companion and somebody that meant so much to the Doctor. So I'll concede the rest of my time for that.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right.
Okay.
And we're going over to Sean. Sean, again, which companion do you feel had the best send-off? You have 1:30 on the clock. Let us know who you got.
With Doctor Who, there's a lot of craziness, happiness, and heartbreak. Me being an actual Whovian, I love these characters. I love the companions. And while Rose Tyler is a commendable choice, mine, I'm going to go with the one person who deserved the ending she got, and that is Donna Noble. And I'm going to concede the rest of my time because I'm going to save the rest of it for the fight.
We got 5 minutes on the debate. When the first person starts speaking, we got Donna and Rose. Who is the one that had the best send-off?
I think with Rose, it almost makes me wonder if you even know how the ending actually really went, because you said that she didn't find out that she loved him until she got back into her timeline. She always loved the Doctor. She was always in love with him. She didn't just realize it all of a sudden.
No.
She didn't get the happy ending she wanted. She got a fake happy ending. She got her mother, but that's the only thing she's got. She's in a different timeline of a parallel universe. She's with a father she does not know. She's with a best friend she does not fully know. And she's with a Doctor that's not the actual Doctor. It's a clone of his hand. That's not the Doctor she loves. That's not the Doctor that she wants to be with. It's literally the second place prize. Here you go. You get a happy ending, but it's not the one you want. Donna actually gets a happy ending.
Which makes it all the more interesting because she kind of gets both. And you misheard me. She did love the Doctor the whole time she was with the Doctor. And then she comes back when she breaks out of the timeline. She discovers how to do that all by herself. Here's a character that didn't really know much. She was kind of just a street kid and didn't really know much in ways of the Doctor Who
didn't
verse.
know much. She absorbed the power of the TARDIS in season 1.
And she gets this I wouldn't call it tragic, that tragic or sad, because she's in a different timeline with somebody that she gets to know her father. She is with her mother. She gets to know this best friend of this new person, and she knows she can't be with the Doctor. So here is the Doctor, a clone, albeit, but it's still him. So she gets to be at least with the person that she does love.
See, you just said the exact same thing that what I just said. She's put in a position where she has to basically redo everything. The only thing she's got is her mom. She's got to relearn her dad. She's got to relearn her best friend. And this Doctor doesn't have the memories of what she had with the other Doctor. She's got to re-fall in love, or get this Doctor to re-fall in love with her. I mean, he's just kind of put with her, saying, hey, this is Rose. You love her. Be with her. It's not, she has all that experience with the real timeline, and she has to basically start all over again with these other people. Could she eventually be happy? Yes, but it's not what she wanted. Her real happy ending was to continue to go on and do adventures with a doctor until her dying days. That was what she wanted, not this.
Well, she gets to do that as well. And who says it's more true to real life? In real life, we make decisions and some things are thrust upon us. This is how we deal with those as people that make us a strong character. So she gets to the most realistic in all the ways. And who really wants, when you're watching a story about conflict and who really wants a happy ending most of the time. Sometimes the best stories have a tragic ending, and she gets a little bit of both, which makes her more rounded as a character, and I think the better send-off because it's more grounded in reality in a show that is absolutely ungrounded in reality. So it makes it more interesting thematically.
The problem with that ending is that it also ruins the character of Rose Tyler. Her whole character was that she wasn't she always felt she needed her father, that she never got the time with her father, and there was always something against her. But she was such a strong, powerful character without it. Now you're bringing the father back in, and it kind of takes away from the strength of her character because now she has her father again. And it's not what she was built up as for those few seasons. She was a strong, capable character who did things on her own, like you said, and because in spite of her not having a dad. And now she just gets it all at the end, and it's just a very cookie cutter, like, oh, we got to have a happy send-off. Let's just give her this. This will appease the fans, which it didn't.
But it doesn't take away from the strength of her character. Getting any of those things doesn't take away from her experience. And now she gets to add that experience to this new reality and this new situation. All the things that made her a strong character, she gets to utilize that now in a different and interesting way, which would make a great series, a great spinoff series. Donna is actually still haunted by Rose when she comes back. Sort of. Donna's the first person who's still haunted by Rose. So
how's she haunted? Donna's still with the doctor when Rose pops up.
Yeah, but Donna doesn't. I mean, it's kind of a every. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, Donna's not haunted by Rose. Rose literally helps her out to save the doctor. That she's not being haunted. She just randomly starts seeing this girl. That has nothing to do with Donna.
Constantly comparing herself to that. To that connection that the doctor and Rose had.
That's not how Donna saw everything. Donna was the doctor's mate, not a love interest. Rose was the love interest, and if anything, it helped her understand the doctor better because she saw where the heartache from the doctor came from, which was from Rose. Donna never had to do that. She was never.
Time. All right, guys. I love it. I love it. I love it. Alan, we're going to you first. You still got that minute extension if you want to use it. If not, you got a minute on the clock. Tell us why Rose Tyler over Donna Noble had the best send-off.
Rose had the best send-off because it's the culmination of all of the things, the insanity that happened to her character, all the tragedy, all the joy. I mean, we're talking about a show that you're exactly right. The love interest clone got another one shaped off of his hand, a clone out of his hand. That's the depth of reality that we're dealing with here. It's absolute insanity. So to see a character gets to come back, deal with all these things that made her kind of tragic in a way. She gets all these things thrust upon her father back. She gets to be with her mother, this friend, and now her love she gets to grow old with for all time, for the rest of eternity, and based off of you're right, it's the clone that came from a hand, and she gets to deal with this now and be with that person that she loves in an interesting way rather than your typical storybook happy ending.
Time. All right, Sean, let me pull up your answer. You got Donna Noble. Minute on the clock. When you start talking, tell us why she was better than Rose and had the best send-off.
The main thing that Rose wanted more than anything else was for the real doctor to say those 3 magical words, and she never got those. Instead, she gets a clone that can say those. It's not the real thing. It's a fake it's a fake happy ending. And I don't know how I can lose this fight when you didn't attack mine at all. Donna got unscathed. She doesn't have the scars or the remembrance of anything that happened to her like all the other companions did, such as Rose. She got a happy ending. She won the lottery. She's set for life. She met the love of her life and got married. And she's able to live a long, normal, healthy life with financial security, with her true love, and without ever having to worry about aliens or anything happening to her again, which you didn't get to attack at all in this argument. So I really can't see how I could lose this fight when we literally spent the entire 5 minutes talking about how Rose's ending was not that great. And that's the end of my time.
All right. I love it. He kept it short and sweet. And of course, I got to be the first one to go up with this for a Doctor Who question. I'm going to tell you both right now, you're completely wrong. My favorite send-off, my favorite and most best send-off ever was Amy Pond. So you are both completely wrong because Amy just like, yeah, I'm going to go live the rest of my life with him because of the angels. Boo yourself. Shut your mouth. It's my turn. Okay, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I hate it. Because I do like Alan. I think you're doing a hell of a job. You're just not attacking his points as much. So that's the only reason why I'm giving this to Sean. Sean just came up with a better why his character had a better send-off versus why yours didn't have the send-off that she wanted, which in all reality, that's not the best send-off. I'm going to go over to James next. James. Questions on the board.
First of all, Sean, goddamn, you went for the throat in that wrap-up. I hate to be the contrarian here. I'm going for Alan because I think best is sort of a fluid term here. And what I think Alan accidentally sort of did in his constant rebuttal against it is she has the best, most natural send-off because it is unsure. It is just this fluid back and forth mixture of good and bad and how haunting it is, but also how loving it is, how it's what she wants, but not what she got ultimately. I think that's interesting. And to me, that's what the best is. I think Alan touched on that really good. All
right. Ryan, down to you. We've had to make split decisions every question. I love it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Hey, this is what makes matches more entertaining. Just coming down to the split decision. Ryan, where do you see this? Couple pointers, and we'll wrap this question up.
Sean, Alan, you guys were doing good jobs, like really talking up your characters there. Sean, you spent so much time trying to downplay Rose, you didn't get enough time to bring in Donna herself. And
I didn't have to.
But you still should have to defend the reason why she was sent off. Also, Alan, you were strong, really strong in the bits of it, but then you started to fade ultimately halfway through it. You were mixing Donna and Martha up. Martha was the one being compared to Rose. Yeah. So honestly, Sean, you are getting this point because you stayed more on point, but I would have preferred you to bring more on Donna. Why it was sure there was better send-offs, but Donna was able to be more. Both were tragic, honestly, but Donna, it was more wrapped up for her because even though she can't remember, the doctor at least did his best to make up for it, which is why she's going to be living happily off. With Rose, yeah, it was kind of like the doctor putting a Band-Aid on a situation.
All right, and we're back. We just gave the point to Sean. Sean is now 3-0. Sean has the potential to knock someone out. Alan, this point is huge for you, and you need this point, but you don't get to start the question off. So, Sean gets to start the question off, and Sean, the category is fantasy. What is the best fantasy film of the 1980s? And you have 1:30 on your clock. When you're ready, tell us what it is.
I love that this is the deciding point for me. I think it's the one that's going to be the easiest win for me. And literally, when you think of the 1980s, you think of fantasy films, there's one movie that stands above the rest. There's one movie that is timelessly remembered, timelessly quoted, timelessly talked about, and that is The Princess Bride. And I will concede the rest of my time.
Man, Sean saying he doesn't need any time for The Princess Bride. We're bringing Alan up. Alan, You got 1:30 on the clock. What is the best fantasy film of the 1980s? That is over top Princess Bride. Tell us what you got. What's your pick?
All I have to say is The Dark Crystal. As soon as I say that, fantasy is what comes to your mind. Everybody has an image. That beautiful, creative, amazing, interesting world. A vastly different world than what our reality is. And it is truly fantastical. It is what fantasy is. It's the definition of it. A beautiful landscape, an amazing group of characters that look nothing like anything that we know as people. It's just an absolute beauty and a joy to behold. A fantastical, amazing special effects, puppets, just absolutely characters that are created with such ease and joy that they look real, but not in our reality, in their own reality, in a truly fantasy world. Absolutely mythical in the way, the visionary style. Just a pure fantasy film through and through. The very definition, textbook definition of what fantasy is. That's The Dark Crystal.
All right, and he looks like he's conceding the rest of his time. You both finished under time. This is a very important point for you, Alan. This is an important point for Sean. Sean said he was going to knock you out. Alan, you said that wasn't happening, and I'm taking you to the speed round. This is the deciding factor. This is the deciding factor. Do we have The Princess Bride or The Dark Crystal? 5 minutes on the board when one of you start talking.
Well, it's easy for me because The Princess Bride isn't even a fantasy film. It's a storybook, it's a rom-com, but it's not a fantasy film. The film starts and ends with two guys in a room, a young boy who's sick and a grandpa. Oh, that's a very beautiful little story of bedtime, but it's not an actual fantasy film.
So action, adventure, pirates, romance, torture, humor, a heart. That's not fantasy. I'm sorry. That is literally the opinion of fantasy films. The themes of friendship, love, perseverance are so well done that it was written as a book. And you know what? It's actually told by a book to a grandfather to his son, like fantasy stories are. This is the epitome of a fantasy story. Yours is just a bunch of puppets. And I'll admit, it's incredibly well made. Let me finish.
There's a million different books. All books aren't fantasy. They're a bunch of nonfiction books. They're a bunch of adventure stories. You get all of those things. You get adventure, you get romance, you get love, you get hate, you get all of those things in a different fantastical world. Fantasy is not our reality, and The Dark Crystal is purely fantastical. It is not our reality whatsoever. It is mythical. It is epic. It is visually defined as something other than our reality, and you get all of those adventure, romance, love, hate, fear, anger, epic world stakes. The world might come falling apart if these two groups don't come and unite together again. It's absolutely what fantasy is. A storybook adventure is great. There's lots of storybook adventures. Clifford the Big Red Dog is a storybook adventure, but it's not fantasy.
All right, I gave him his time. It's an incredibly well-made film. It's got a lackluster story. The protagonist is weak. It has no memorable characters outside of the skeezies, and even they get annoying. Oh, I gave you your time. I gave you your time. It's my time now. They're annoying with the croaking noises. The movie's too reliant on the visuals and not much else. It's not funny. The story's bland. It's generic, and the characters are one-dimensional. And I liked it better when it was Labyrinth. They're only making a TV series now because no one cares about the original. They're trying to make it relevant again. You know what is not being redone? You know what is not being remade? The Princess Bride, because it's a perfect film.
It's been remade 1,000 different times in every different rom-com you could possibly think of and imagine. It's been done 1,000,000 times before. There's nothing original about that story. I myself.
Time out. 20 seconds on the clock. This is the first time I've had to do it. Both of you are quiet. First time I've had to do it. You're over talking each other. You got to calm it down, okay? I understand this is
having
debate.
Fun.
You're having fun, but we got to hear your arguments. And Alan, you're getting really loud. You're not letting each other talk. You got it back and forth. And unpause.
No memorable characters. Kira, little dog Fezgig. Everybody wanted that dog, that amazing two-mouthed puppet dog. It was incredible. Everybody remembers that. And Chamberlain, of course, being an epic villain that everybody remembers, because that sound that he made is haunting, and everybody remembers that sound. No memorable characters. The one eye of Aughra looking for the shard. Everybody remembers that. It's absolutely incredible. Lunch boxes, T-shirts, everything. Just the visualization is plastered everywhere. That if you're a true child of the 80s, you knew that story and you knew those characters.
If you're a true child from the 80s, everyone knows Princess Bride because that's the movie you watched when you were sick at home from school. If it wasn't Price is Right, it was The Princess Bride. You want to talk about fantastic performances? You have Matty Patinkin as Inigo Montoya. You have Carl Elwes, and I know I'm butchering his name, as Wesley. Wallace Shawn as Vizzini. Andre the frickin' Giant as Physic. You got Chris Sheridan as Prince Humperdinck. Billy the Crystal as Miracle Max. They're funny. They're memorable. Can you remember any quotes from your film? Because I can remember tons from The Princess Bride. Your movie was better when it was Labyrinth. There are 5 other fantasy movies better than yours, such as Neverending Story, Willow, Legend, Conan the Barbarian, Dragon Slayer, Ladyhawke, just to name a few. I can keep going. Your movie,
and you could have kept going, and you could have named a few, but you didn't choose any of those. You chose The Princess Bride, which isn't even a fantasy film. Which isn't even a fantasy film.
Those movies are better than the one you picked.
But you didn't choose them. You didn't choose those, though.
I'll admit there are some amazing Hensonesses in the film, but the quest itself seems forced, and Jen is too much of a cipher in the film.
Not even close.
It's a beautiful story from beginning to end, and it literally ends the way a fantasy story ends, and they all lived happily ever after.
Has a nice storybook.
Ooh. Jesus, guys. That's the first time that I've ever, and I mean ever, have had to use the timeout rule. Congratulations on your infant award. We're calling it the infant award.
Wear it with pride.
Wear it with pride. It's a diaper, bronzed, and it says, Sean Allen championship match, 2019.
That's fine. I'm cool with that. Cool with that.
All right, cool. All right, guys. We're going to Sean first. Sean, you got... let me pull up the question. Sean, you got a minute on the clock. Tell us why The Princess Bride is the best fantasy film of the 1980s over Dark Crystal.
All right, I'm going to go real fast with this because I got a lot to say with a minute left. Like I said, your movie, incredibly well made with puppets, lackluster story, characters are dragging, and it's just not that great overall. Mine, endlessly quotable, beautiful story, beautiful set pieces. The characters are memorable. This movie is on every best of ranking list. It is one of the top ranked fantasy films in the 1980s, and you know what? Every single time, it's ahead of Dark Crystal. It's got a higher Metascore. It's got a higher IMDb score. It's got a higher Rotten score, whether it's critics or fans. It is number 50 in Bravo's 100 Funniest Movies list. It's number 88 on American Film Institute's list of AFI's 100 Passionate Films. It is literally ranked in everything, and it's also in the National Film Registry, being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. What is Dark Crystal on? None of those lists. Princess Bride is the epitome of fantasy films. It has been, it always will be, and which is why, till this day, it has not been redone or rehashed. Dark Crystal's getting remade.
And time. Wow. All right, Alan, you got a tremendous need for this point. We're bringing up your answer. You got a minute on the clock. You still have a minute extension. Learn that out there if you want to use it. But you have a minute on the clock. What is the best fantasy film of the 1980s? Why is it Dark Crystal over Princess Bride? Minute on the clock when you start talking.
Going back to the question, what is the best fantasy film? Dark Crystal's on that list, fantasy film. Princess Bride is not. I'll give you a fairy tale. I'll give you a rom-com. I'll give you action adventure. But it's not a fantasy. Fantasy is a different world, completely void and different of what we know in our reality. It is truly fantastical. And that is what the Dark Crystal is. A beautifully made, incredible tale in a fantasy world. right? And the reason they're making a new one is because people want to go back to that fantasy world, that different world that is not ours, that is not a fairy tale or a storybook romance. It is a true fantasy film told from that perspective and meant to be just that, a fantasy. And I'll take that as the end.
All right, finishing before time. That is a very, very weary strategy, but I like it. I like the balls on this kid. We're going to James first. James, I know that you don't want to keep this short, but I need you to keep it short. We're trying to keep this as best as possible. So I need to know who you feel had the stronger answer to this question. What is the best fantasy film of the 1980s?
Y'all got me fucking riled up. Okay. All right. You want it short and sweet. Alan had one argument, which basically beat you, Sean. It's not a fantasy film, and he kept digging into that. You may argue what's the best film of the 80s, and that you built a very compelling argument for that. But you ignored any of the elements that made it fantasy. That is not part of the question. For that, I give it to Alan for something that is quintessential fantasy in every inch of it. Also, Jim Henson is a brilliant mastermind. That's not part of the question.
All right, so we're gonna go over. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna go over to Ryan. I feel like I'm getting my ass chewed out real quick. So we're going over to Ryan. Ryan, who gets your point and why?
Oh man. Oh, it's so hard. This is so difficult to choose. We'll keep down to the facts. Alan really kept reinforcing why this was a fantasy movie. And James, you brought up to why The Princess Bride is a great. Wait, I said James? I meant Sean. I'm so sorry. I'm so confused.
I can argue this too.
So confused. Sean, you did a great job saying why this is a good movie with all the character introductions. It's just you weren't bringing any fantasy elements into it to remind us. Sure, there is the grandpa telling the child a book, but that's one little trope of fantasy that you mentioned. If you have brought in a little more into it, that really would have strengthened your argument. Unfortunately, I am going with Alan on this one because he kept talking about why his film is in the general layout of fantasy. Dang, I can't even get the words right.
All right.
I get it right. You're so angry, you just can't keep yourself together.
All right, so we awarded the point to Alan. Alan, you got the point. You saved yourself from a knockout, but it's far from over. We got question 5 up on deck. And with Watchmen getting a TV adaptation, what Alan Moore comic should get a small screen adaptation? And we're going to Alan first. Alan, you have 1:30 on the clock. Tell us what Alan Moore comic should get a small screen adaptation.
Well, the one that hasn't been touched yet is Promethea. Promethea would be a great television series, hopefully a mini series, because I tend to like miniseries a little bit better. But it tells the story of this young lady discovering this powerful entity. And then she has to go back and find out all she can about this entity and how it's taking her over, and all the elements that entails with that. You've got your episodes built in right there. She goes to a new town, meets somebody who's been taken over by this entity previously, and discovers a little bit more about it. So ultimately, she gets to the end and understands the true nature of the entity and what it means for humanity. So I think a nice, tight miniseries would be perfect for this story.
All right, you conceding the rest of your time?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going over to Sean. Sean, yeah, there we go. Same question. With Watchmen getting this TV adaptation, what Alan Moore comic should get a small screen adaptation?
When we're coming up with a new show, because that's the thing, a small screen adaptation, I'm not looking at it as in terms of a mini series. I'm looking at it as at least multiple seasons, because that's what people want. People want to be able to binge watch multiple seasons and not just watch 8 episodes, because they're always going to be left for more. So I chose a character that I felt like could establish a lengthier story aspect that could go longer and also spin off to other shows, and that is Tom Strong. And I'll concede the rest of my time.
All right. Whew, we got Tom Strong. We got Promethea. You guys got 5 minutes. Tell us, which one should get the small screen adaptation?
Well, Prometheus should get the small screen adaptation because it's what people are clamoring for right now. They don't have superhero fatigue yet, but they're getting close with all of the TV shows already. Tom Strong is really just a non-stretchy Reed Richards, and we've got a number of superhero shows that already have gone way too long in their series. Arrow is definitely with that, and need to be put to an end. So Prometheus tells a new story about a young lady. People want female protagonists in their shows right now, and it's about something that is a little bit unique in that superhero realm. It's about this entity that deals with history, that deals with the fate of the world a little bit differently than these other shows have done before.
With Tom Strong, it's not basically a pass off Reed Richards. Tom Strong is actually read like a love letter to comic books and to the superhero genre. The series has run for 18 years now and is still going to this day. He's a man who was raised on an island with his parents who kept him in a high gravity chamber, which makes him stronger, faster, durable. He's over 100 years old. He looks 40. He has the ability to time travel. He has a wife and a daughter who also have special abilities that could almost like literally The Incredibles, the TV show, you could almost have right there. He literally has a robot and a super talking gorilla as his partners. That is awesome TV right there, having a talking gorilla, which we see with Grodd and Flash, which is always one of the better episodes when it's on. And you're going to have that in every character thing. And then you're also going to have a talking robot. And with Promethea, it's a unique premise. For a story arc of a show, not full-on series, she literally has to write a poem for Promethea to show up. How boring is that?
How boring is it's something that needs to be put back into the consciousness of humanity right now, is the importance on reading and being creative and using not just your strength but your wits to get out of a situation and to deal with certain scenarios that come up. We've got a million different superhero shows. You just rattled off a bunch of them in your own argument. Yeah, Talking Gorilla, we've got it in The Flash. Why we need another one? There's just too much that has been
like in this one.
But we've got a million of those. We've got a million different TV shows with a bunch of different things. You use two different examples, The Flash, The Incredibles. We've already seen it, something we've already seen. Prometheus is a new idea that we haven't really seen before.
Promethea is stuff we have seen before. It's in any kind of Egyptian mummy kind of show where a mummy type of empress chick takes over a woman's body and kind of controls, and she's super powerful. We've seen it with the Mummy, we've seen it with the Mummy Returns, and we've seen it with the new crappy Mummy. Literally, Promethea, all you got to do is imagine her. You have to use your imagination to summon her. So anyone can do it. It doesn't make you special. And I'll admit, the first start of your story is actually intriguing. You got demons coming after him and stuff like that, and it's very interesting. But then after that first little arc, all it is a bunch of FBI agents hunting after, which you said we've seen a million shows like it. We've also seen a million shows like FBI's hunting after special people. And that is what your show will eventually end up becoming.
Well, you've got FBI characters that people can relate to in a new scenario, a new situation. Exactly right. You've got these people, and it's not just everybody who can summon this power. It's select few, a very select few, and she has to go through the world essentially, finding these people that have had that select power before, and finding out more information about why this is happening, and what ultimately will be the fate of the end of the world should it come to that. And the true
how does that story end for Prometheus? Spoiler alert: she destroys the world.
There you go, a guaranteed ending. Doesn't have to drag on for 4 or 5 seasons.
That doesn't make it great. And you know what? Here's the funny thing that you don't realize. Your story, you know what happens at the end, near the end of that story? They bring my character into it to make it better. Tom Strong has up into Promethea to hunt Promethea down. So your show works as a secondary storyline to my show.
No, yours comes as your character comes in as a crossover at the very, very end. The whole story does perfectly fine without him. He comes as a crossover because that's what happens in comics. The good thing about a TV show is you don't need a crossover to get ratings and to get something interesting. You've got a story can stand on its own, and it's unique. It's not been done a million times. Tom Strong has been done a million times. There's already 15 shows that are just like it.
Has done the exact same thing. The witch from Suicide Squad is the exact same character, pretty much. She has a witch into her body, and it controls her and makes her ultra powerful. Saw it in Suicide Squad, and it didn't work. It was the worst part of the movie.
Time. I think they just pitched a Alan Moore cinematic universe. I think that's what we're going with here. Alan is going to start us off for the final for the final part of this question for the closing. Alan, you have a minute on the clock. Tell us why Promethea should get it over Tom Strong.
You've got a story that takes a strong female character. She has to learn a little bit about history, a little bit about what's happening to her, a little bit about what it takes for other people to be able to harness this power to this entity to take them over, and what it means for the world itself. And it's not a story that's been done a million times. And it's unique and could run for a limited series or an extended series because it is unique. It's more unique than the 15 other shows that are just like it because there are none. It's unique and individualistic and an interesting story that people can relate to and that people want to see. I can see my time.
All right. Going over to Sean. Sean, you got a minute on the clock. Tell us why Tom Strong deserves a small screen adaptation over top of Promethea.
You're right. Your story hasn't been done a million times. It's been done a few times, and they've failed every single time with the Mummies and the Suicide Squads. It's a boring, tired trope that they've tried, and it never works, which is why they don't continue to do it. Mine might be a tired trope, but it works, and people will watch it and still continue to watch it from this day, which is why they keep doing it, because it works. Mine has the ability to branch off into multiple shows. You have his daughter, Tesla Strong. That show could be more for younger children. You got his younger version because he time travels, and he actually works with his younger self. That could be more of a comedic route with the show. Your character could be an awesome villain character for my show in season 3. My show has layers, it builds up, and once again, it has a talking robot and a talking gorilla as allies, and that's going to grab the nerds, it's going to grab the kids, it's going to grab the family, because this is a family of superheroes in a live action point. Yeah, we got The Incredibles, it's a great cartoon. Let's have it in live action, and let's have it, and that's why Tom Strong would be the better small screen adaptation.
Time. Woo. All right. We're going over to Ryan first. Ryan, I'm going to pull up this question real quick. The question is, with Watchmen getting a TV adaptation, what Alan Moore comics should get a small screen adaptation? You have Promethea. You have Tom Strong. Where's your point landing and why?
Oh, my God. Okay. Okay, Sean's getting the point. It's mainly because from his opening argument to the debate, the closing, he was giving out with his character Tom Strong elements and structure that can be spread out, that can be told in multiple seasons. With Alan, you did pretty much state straight up. You wanted to pitch this as a mini series, and while it is a good idea, what's done with most mini series is there's sometimes, let's just say miniseries, sometimes they nail it and sometimes they don't. Even within a one season structure. And from what you were describing, it looked like Promethea could have been expanded into maybe 2 or 3 seasons tops, like something done on Netflix. Sean, he stayed focused onto his character, things that can not only entice nerds, but also entice younger audiences, also family audiences, since he brought up The Incredibles, which can be good marketing structure. So Sean's getting the point.
I like it. I'm coming over to me next. I'm going to sound like a broken record tonight, obviously. And I swear to you, Alan, you did an amazing job tonight. You really did. But when it came down to it, Sean really pitched what this show was. You gave me a great maybe season arc, but Sean kind of basically pitched an entire show and brought your character into it. So he kind of gave you a little bit of what yours was, but he pitched a great show. So Sean is getting my point. But with that being said, your now champion of nerd fights is Sean Wasserkrug. Sean, I'm gonna come to you. I'm gonna come to you last because I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to explain some things that are gonna happen down the pipeline. But I also want to talk to Alan and tell him that this isn't the last time we might see him in a championship match. So let me go over to Alan real quick. Alan, you are the unfortunate loser of today's match. But hey, listen, you're officially in a number one contenders match against Cody Newberry.
Ooh.
The man, the myth, the legend, Cody Newberry. How are you feeling? Do you think how do you think your performance did tonight? What did you think of the tournament overall? And hey, at least you can say Sean didn't actually knock me out. It's a TKO, but he didn't actually knock me out. But with that being said, how are you feeling? I know it's a lot to take in. These championship matches are huge spectacles, and it's a lot toll on the mental. But how do you feel knowing that you're in a number one contender match and you could be facing Sean again in a championship match?
I'm feeling good. Bottom line, this was a lot of fun. The whole tournament, everything was a lot of fun. Sean is one hell of an arguer. I'll give him that. And it's just good fun. I look forward to going up against Newberry because who wouldn't want to battle him? It was just a lot of fun. It's just a great privilege to be here. And excited to keep on going and keep on battling. And I will be rematching you, Sean. Don't worry. We will fight again.
I look forward to it.
All right. So we, before I go to Sean, because he is the champion, I'm going to go to my judges real quick. I'm going to go over to James first. James, how do you feel the match went? I know you're a little disheartened because majority of your points actually did go to Alan.
Thank you, brother.
Don't feel disheartened. Don't feel disheartened. You'll get
the worst part. Alan lost on an Alan question. That's the worst part of all of this, man.
All right. So, James, how are you feeling? Did you enjoy the match at least? What do you think of our new champion?
As probably the least qualified person in this room, I think Sean did a great job. I look forward to him competing again, and hopefully I could maybe next time I'm on the desk and he's in a match, hopefully I can actually give him some points because Alan did a hell of a job. I'm disappointed this didn't go farther because there were some great arguments on the table. But Sean just kicked ass, man. He dominates everything I see him in, so it's no surprise he has this championship right now.
All right, going over to Ryan. Ryan, you were kind of split between all your verdicts. It wasn't, 1 point for 1 point. It was, you felt certain ways about certain arguments. How do you feel about this match? Are you excited to get your hands dirty in nerd fights? Because you are on the roster, good sir. You are one of the first matches that are the regular season matches, good sir. So we're excited to have you in here. Are you chasing after Sean, or what are you going to do? Do you just want to lean back and just try and get a couple wins, or are you going straight for Sean right off the bat, knocking out some people like Sean did?
Well, the competitor in me definitely wants to shoot for the champ, but so far with my records in every debate I've been a part of, movies, sport, wrestling, games, right now I'm playing to get myself right, to get wins, get W's. Hopefully down the line it gets me towards a shot at the champ. But for right now, I want to establish myself and start racking up some wins. So right now, with Sean and Alan, I would be terrified if I came across these guys in nerd fights, honestly. The questions, the arguments they had were fantastic. What reason why I was so split? Some of my decisions came down to who hit more, who stayed focused on the question a lot better. Ultimately, if I ever see these guys, like if I see my name against them in a match, let's just say I'm going to come with at least a notebook worth of notes and facts to fight against them.
Absolutely, man. I completely understand that. And we are coming to Sean. Sean, how's it feel to see your name saying, and your champion is before it?
Well, first things first, how did you say my last name earlier?
Wasserkrug?
It's Wasserkrug.
Wasserkrug. Okay, I'm sorry, champ.
Wasserkrug.
Wasserkrug.
The reason why I'm making that a point is get used to that name because it's going to be said a lot. Hold on. I forgot something. It's a little heavy. Oh, yeah, that's right. How do I feel about that thing being on my screen? I knew it was going to happen. I even said in the last match, knockout. I mean, albeit I didn't know we were going 6 rounds, but I said knockout in 3, 4 if I'm feeling lazy. So knockout in 4, 5 if I wanted to play with my food. And I got to play with my food a little bit, and it was delicious. Alan, honestly, not trying to be a dick the entire time. Alan, you're a lot of fun to talk with. You're a great wordsmith. I was listening to you talk, going, damn. It's like, how am I gonna argue this guy? It's a lot of fun. I'm tired. This belt's heavy. I can't wait to wear it all over the place because heavy is the head that wears the crown, and I wear the crown. And all the people out there who didn't believe that I'm a threat, take notice, get ready, study up, because I'm going to bitch slap every single one of you that come at me. This belt is staying here. And honestly, I would wish, and this is something I would throw for a championship round, because with Alan, those last 3 rounds, we left a lot on the table. Move this thing up to 7-minute rounds, because we have so much that we didn't say. And I know Alan did, and I know I did. Those first 2 rounds, yeah, we were skating through. But those last 3, we had so much more we wanted to say to each other that we didn't get to. Up these minutes, because 5 minutes goes way too quick for a title fight. But here it is. Come and get it. You ain't taking it from me.
Then the question on the table is, do you want to see Alan come back and challenge you for an Alan Shawn 2, or do you want to put the belt on the table against Cody Newberry, the champ of movie battlegrounds, the one that says you probably should be scared of him? Which one do you want to face more? Do you want to shut someone's mouth up, or do you want another epic battle?
I've shut everyone's mouth up already. When this tournament bracket came out, and everyone's at poster predictions, no one picked me. No one. Everyone picked Richard to beat me because no one knew who I was. Y'all know who I am now. Cody's a bully. Cody thinks he has this sway over everybody, and he thinks he's never wrong. You know what? I know when I'm wrong, and I will gladly admit when I'm wrong. But it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about who argues best. And that's what I do. I'm a perfect counterpuncher, and I bring up some very valid, great points. So if Cody wants it, come and get it. And he's only the Battleground champion because I haven't played in Battleground yet. And Alan, I would love to play you again. It was a lot of fun. You're a nice dude. I'm a nice dude. I'm putting up a facade right now because I won. And I told the person I was on a phone call with that I would act a little bit tougher on camera and stop being so nice. So yeah, I would love to play Alan again. Alan's a lot of fun. I feel like we have very different thought process on things, but it's a good thought process where we can have a great back and forth. So I would gladly play Alan again. I would play Ryan. I would play James. I would play you, Doug. It'd be fun. Cody's a bully, and you know what I do to bullies? I beat the crap out of them.
All right, we're ending the promo right there, so no more words get thrown out.
I heard a challenge towards me. Can we just finish up this game with me knowing nothing about this?
This was one. All right, guys, I just need a quick second. Right, and we can talk after the match. But this officially was one of the craziest tournaments. Sean came out, TKO'd 2 opponents, KO'd 1 opponent, and he said, "Bring on whoever." Because here's the thing, he's ready. Alan killed it in all 3 of his matches. We're excited to let him do the #1 contenders match here against Cody Newberry, and I know that's going to be a great match. So here from everybody at Nerd Fights, hey nerds, keep fighting.